Are you hungry?
Give me something good.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Görgött. Today we're making Prawn Shia Song, and it's from a cookbook I got a couple of months ago from a restaurant chain in London called BAO. And since I got that cookbook, I've been cooking almost nothing else. It's really amazing. I changed the recipe a little bit to kind of work better for my taste. Main difference, well, I added some nice onions to go on top with some crunch. And I'm not making a sweet mayonnaise, I'm making a normal mayonnaise. But before we have a look at the ingredients here on the board, do me the favor, if you're not supporting the channel yet by subscribing, then click that button, check the bell icon so that you get notifications when new episodes come online. And that's a favor you can do for me. But now let's have a look at the board. So we have our prawns. Get any prawns you want. I've tried it with different prawns. It works with any kind of prawn or shrimp. Important, it's raw. I bought these already peeled and de-intestined, so they're ready to use. As I mentioned, we have our crispy onions. It's shallots. I just deep fat fry them, add a bit of salt. They go really nicely on top. We have carrot, we have some celery. We have our mayonnaise. We have white pepper, salt, and egg white. It's the egg white from the egg yolk we use for the mayonnaise. We have some coriander, 2 cloves of garlic, some cornstarch, and some fermented green chilies, homemade fermented green chilies. And obviously we also have bao. Now I did the dough before because it's quite boring. If you want a recipe for bao dough, check out a previous episode I did where I did the dough. Currently the bao is in the proofing oven, doing the final proofing. We're doing kind of hot dog shaped, as you saw in the picture earlier, hot dog shaped baos. And I'll show you first just how to shape them to get that hot dog shape. So this is our bao, and I thought I would just show you how to shape the hot dog bun. So you just need to flatten it out. You can pull a bit on it. You want a rectangular shape. You can also do this with a rolling pin, but it's quite quick to do so. Something like this. Try to get it evenly thick, and then we just roll it up. Try not to get any air trapped in. And then roll it over, and on the back you have to pinch it close. Pinch it close really well. And we can squeeze that in. And also pinch the ends close. So fold them up and back and just pinch them. Press in and fold up and pinch. And that's our hot dog bun shaped bao. Oh, it's 65 grams. So as you saw, it's not so difficult to do the shaping. And before we go on, I do mayonnaise so often on this channel, but I'll show you how I did this one as well. So let's have a look how we did the mayonnaise. We have 1 egg yolk, a tablespoon of rice vinegar. That's the kind of difference with this mayonnaise. The original recipe calls for a sweet mayonnaise, but I've tried both and I prefer this normal mayonnaise version. But the special thing is the rice vinegar. We have some spicy mustard. You can use Dijon or any other kind of spicy fine mustard. Pinch of salt and some neutral oil. So we'll just mix the egg yolk with the vinegar, the pinch of salt and the mustard. Wash my finger. As always, we start by mixing this up. And we have a neutral oil, in this case grapeseed. And we start, as always, slowly. We check. Once you see that it's kind of thickening up and not splitting, then you can start adding a bit quicker. You want quite a thick mayonnaise for this, so I think we have our consistency. I would say it's about 1.5 deciliters of oil for 1 egg yolk. So we're done with this. I'll just get rid of this and then we'll put it into a squeeze-it bottle. And as simple as that, and as I mentioned, only difference is I don't add any sugar to it. Because I think the shrimps are sweet enough. Yeah, you don't really need it. The bao dough is also has sugar in it, so it's okay to keep the mayo without sugar. But now let's start with the prep. We need to do some carrot and celery prep. We need to prep the shrimp as well. So let's get started with that. Let's get started with the garlic. Now you can chop this, but I prefer it grated. If you chop it as fine as you can. Or you can also press it in like a garlic press, that's fine as well. It's not for the texture, it's for the taste. So 2 cloves. Always be careful with your fingertips. I'm actually going to get a brush. That makes it a lot easier. So get your garlic in there. Now in this bowl here, we can basically mix all our ingredients except for the coriander. So for the shrimp, they're quite big. So what I'll do is I'll actually slice them in half. And then into pieces. Don't worry too much about the pieces. They don't have to be exact, just similar size so that they cook at the same time. So do all your shrimps, put them in the bowl. So all our shrimps done. Let's continue with the celery. Now we want to cut these in quite small pieces, a couple of millimeters, and relatively regular shapes. But don't worry too much. Just keep them as small as you can. And now we just, I would say maybe 2-3 millimeters. So this kind of size. You can put that in the bowl as well. Now finish your other celery. We have our celery done as well. Now, one thing I forgot to say, in the original recipe, which I don't use, is water chestnut. I haven't tried it with water chestnut, to be honest, so I can't really say if it makes a big difference. But I can't imagine that it adds anything taste-wise. It might add texture, but water chestnut is not really a flavor-packed vegetable or nut or whatever you want to call it. So we want the carrots more or less the same size as the celery. But again, it's going to be mixed up in everything, so don't worry too much about getting it exactly the same. And I know it's important in a good Michelin restaurant, but it's not that important at home. Obviously it needs to look nice, but it will look nice just because of the nice color. So we just line these up and cut them a similar length as the celery. So go ahead and finish off your carrots. And then we just need to chop some coriander or cilantro. And that's just for, it's not only for decoration, obviously it has a lot of taste, but it's not to mix into this prawn mixture. So get us a small bowl. Now we're not going to need everything, and for this dish I prefer to use the stems more than the leaves. So just chop it up relatively finely, and that just goes on top. Obviously it's now a mix of stems and leaves, but that should do us. Now we put this away for later. And now we're ready to finish off the shrimp mix. So we'll put our cornstarch or corn flour on. Our egg white. Pinch of salt, 2. And some white pepper. Now again here, the recipe calls for a little bit of sugar. I'm not putting that in. I always think the shrimps have enough sweetness. Make sure you mix this well now, so that the cornstarch and the garlic and the egg white kind of goes all over. You can already smell the garlic in there. And what I'm going to do, since we need to deep fat fry this, and we also need to deep fat fry the bao, I'm going to deep fat fry this first, have the oven at around 50 degrees, and just keep it warm in there while we then deep fat fry the bun. So that's basically perfect. Now we're going to move over to the stove. You don't need that much oil. It should be around 130 degrees. But keep the heat on, because it's going to cool down quite a lot once you put in the shrimp. Make sure you get all of the good stuff in. The smell is divine. Try a piece. Alright, this is perfect. So now we're going to drain off the oil, and as I said, put it in the oven. And the next clip we'll see is when we make the bao bun. Now it's time for our bao. The oil is now at 180 degrees. So we'll drop it in gently and then time about a minute. I would say you could probably do 3 to 4 at a time. We're at the minute mark. I really think this golden crispy color is pretty amazing. Now we just need to make sure that it looks relatively even. And I think it does. So let's take it, put it on a kitchen paper to dry off. And now we'll move over to the counter again. Now doesn't this look wonderful? One of the last things we need to do is to put in our fermented green chilies and mix that into the mix here. Perfect. And now we'll get your bread knife. And it's time to assemble our bao. So I will first go in with some mayo. And then we'll go in for the shrimp. I'll be quite generous. Obviously you can make bigger buns if you want. Like that. Then some of our chopped coriander on top. And last but not least, our crunchy shallots, because that just tastes amazing. And there it is, our Prawn Shia Song Bao. Now let's give it a try. Ha. Now cutlery for a dish like this is overrated, so let's just get in there. This is so perversely good. Oops. But trust me, the mayonnaise does not need to be sweet. It's better with the normal mayonnaise. That's a bit on the sour side. Because the bun is sweet, the shrimps in themselves are sweet. You know, this kind of sweet seafoody taste. But it's... It's for sure not low calorie. But who cares? Calories makes us happy sometimes. So if you like bao, then do this recipe. Yeah, it's deep fat fried, but it's so good, you're not going to regret it. Now, as always, at the end of the show, support me, show me that you enjoy what I'm doing by hitting that thumbs up button, and why not leave a comment? And if you're not subscribing yet, do that too. Click subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then you made me happy. Take care until next time. Bye-bye.